Welcome back, my friend.
Welcome back, folks. It's a beautiful sunshiny day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Stellar.
It is a stellar day. Hope you're having a stellar start to your week. It is the 8th of February, 2022. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 554.
Yep.
554. We have returned from run camp. We were away. Feels like it's almost, if we take like 7 days off from doing a podcast, it feels like a month.
Yeah,
but it hasn't. It's been about a week.
Been about a week.
But we missed you. We missed each other. We missed hanging back and having our conversations. So it's a Tuesday. We usually use it on Mondays and Thursdays, but we always come to you twice a week. It's your first time tuning in. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, that your time is valuable. So we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We will do race recaps. We'll also do race previews. For the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what our athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes, from beginner level athletes who are just getting their feet wet in the sport, trying to do their first sprint or Olympic, or even move their way up to their first 70.3 or Ironman, and all the way up to elite level amateurs trying to head back to Kona, and everyone in between. We work with local athletes here in Chattanooga, but most of our athletes, I'd say 95% are outside of the state of Tennessee. So we work with everybody. We'll use the feedback and communication we have with them via Training Peaks, text, emails, phone calls to kind of generate a topic as well and drive the discussion. We also go into our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group, if you want to be a part of the awesome conversation there. A lot of great people, a lot of great answers, a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. So hop in there and answer one simple question. We'll let you right in. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads. We do, however, have an agenda, and that is to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm very relaxed.
You look relaxed. You don't look like I thought you would look today.
Yeah, I felt, I was undertrained for the weekend, but most of us were, and most of us kind of tried to push the envelope a little bit. But then last night I went and picked up Maddie in Nashville and hung out with my buddy Andy. We just sat around last night and watched Alan Watts videos on YouTube.
Watts videos.
It was all this, and it was just, we always have like sort of grounding talks with each other, and it's pretty cool. But we were watching Alan Watts, and a talk. I don't know if any of you have listened to him, but he's dead. But he was brilliant and a spiritual kind of philosopher guy, and like one of them was the ego, and it was like, how do you pinpoint where your ego is and what it is in your body? And it was a really interesting thing. And his logic was that we try to find our ego by muscular contraction. I can't give it justice, but like this idea of get your shit together means you clench up, or we get
tension.
Tight. Yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about tension, and like when you can kind of let go of that and how that transforms into better performance and things like that. And just in life in general, just having less stress on you. We talk about stress a lot, obviously, but it was sort of this discussion about low level stress and how it's that thing about like focus on something, and you try to look harder, but it doesn't help your eyes, or, listen up or whatever. When you kind of squint and you try to listen to something, you can't, it doesn't really help,
Straining never helps.
Yeah. And I just think that has an interesting translation into, kind of like, that's sort of what I always try to impart on athletes, is this, like, you gotta be relaxed. And, like when we were out running, obviously running would be a good topic for today because we just came off a boatload of it. You probably ran about 60 miles, I'm guessing.
No, I didn't.
50?
No.
40 because I had 30.
I don't even know.
You don't even know. Yeah, I had about 30.
I know what I ran Sunday because I can still feel it. But first off, for your first timers, don't get disappointed because you're like, I came here to learn about watts on the power meter, not Alan Watts. That's only Watts you guys probably care about. But no, like but you said something there that
Watts game is
the Watts game. That's going to be all kinds of. You're going back to Channel 2 marketing right there. It's like I'm gonna throw in the Watts game, and then people are gonna be all excited about kilojoules.
My mom won't even
watts.
listen, and it'll be a good one.
Exactly. But you said something that made me think real quick, and I was there's a lot of topics we always get from Run Camp. We basically pile into a lodge on a Wednesday, and we didn't leave till Monday. We ran a lot. We had a ton of fun. And the first day back is always really hard. I know for me, it's because it's like reality. It's like, and I think like you said something about being, doing a lot of things. You maybe we're undertrained, and like we at our run camps, like we push ourselves. This isn't like, a smooth, straight green wave pavement. It's some of the hilliest terrain you're going to run on, and terrain and covering miles and running as long as some of these people have never run. Like we always have a lot of firsts, right? A lot of people run their first half marathon, run their first 10K, run the farthest they've ran in years, that myself included this last weekend. And you brought something up with the tension and how, and how stress impacts our life. Right. And I always come back from run camp and you dig back through Training Peaks, which is where our athletes leave comments, and we distance ourselves from that during run camp. A lot of people say like, I want to go back. It's such a great, time to be away from reality and away from the responsibilities and the chaos and the obstacles. And like, you're kind of separated from life, right? And all the additional stress that life has and the conversations and what you choose to pay attention to. I think we all generally have this base level tension, right? Of stress that we have just by the conversations that we have, and caring about people. But at run camp, you're in this kind of vacuum, right? It's not reality. Okay. It's you're 24/7 surrounded by really awesome people that are super positive, that are incredibly caring, that everyone's being totally authentic, and just like you're about to embark on some of the toughest things you've done in a while, but literally no one bats an eye, right? It's like, it honestly, it comes easier. And so while you say like, we go into this kind of untrained, I think when you take the untrained part, because a lot of athletes did, they push themselves well beyond what they would quote unquote think, they might be trained like, Brian Snell. He's like, I've run over a half marathon, and when we're talking about like tough, we mean like one 4.4 mile loop we had was about 900 feet of elevation gain on all trails and gravel. It's tough. And he's like, I haven't run over that. He's like, how many loops you gonna do? And I was like, you're doing at least a half, right? Because like, I don't advocate being irresponsible all the time. Obviously, like in fact, we're probably one of the more safer, like responsible podcasts people listen to. It's like, oh, well, you got to push the needle and go big or go home. But that's like to do like once or twice a year, right? It's about an experience. And for most of the athletes that we had out there, it was an experience. But I think we're able to do things we never thought we were capable of doing for two reasons. One, the environment and positive peer pressure, right?
It's huge.
Positive peer pressure in a way that is transformative and empowering. It's not because when you have really, really hard environments or courses, people tend to free themselves from this box of checking a success or a failure, right? Oh, I think I'm going to have this kind of a pace today, right? Or I'm going to cover it in this time. No one literally had that goal. It was just, let me see how far I can push myself today. And that in itself was the win, right? It was just the time and the effort we put in. But I think what allows us to do that is not just the positive peer pressure, the environment, the lack of expectations, but the other thing was that you wake up on a Sunday morning, it's beautiful outside. You don't have to worry about work or family, right? Or these other obligations or the stress of the world. You're kind of, again, like confined to this almost like stress-free bubble that I think allows you to kind of shed that residual inflammation and fatigue and that tension you were talking about in the Alan Watts video that prevents us from performing our best. And so you can actually get out and be free. And then next thing you know, you're like, I really don't have any business kind of doing this right now, but here I am. And it doesn't feel that bad, right? It didn't, it didn't feel great.
The weird part.
Done. Right. And so I think it's a great topic, in just kind of a way that we always talk about in terms of the amount of minimizing stress is ultimately, I think, the key to unlocking your ultimate potential is to minimize stress. And that way you can allocate the time and effort you need to getting better, and the effects that tension and stuff like that have on how it negatively impacts your performance on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then how you translate that into day-to-day life. I mean, or at least pull that in a little bit. And I think we can. I do think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves continually. And then you come back, like you said, on the first day back, and then you see that computer that's known for work, and it sort of, but like it relates, but there's such a big part of what we do out at Run Camp that is that community based. And a couple weeks ago, we had some guys in here, and Ricky Soft Serve gave me a book. He gave us each the book Tribe.
And, yeah.
And I've about halfway through it, but it really, he said it changed his life. And I can see that, because it really is about kind of being around like-minded people, and people that, I think the inertia of everyone sort of like letting go and not being stressed about work, and then kind of being able to, like I always talk about, be a kid again and sort of, screw around, really. I mean, it's like, I remember going to those camps in the beginning. It was hard for me a little bit to let go, and it's just, hey, this should be all about, triathlon, because that's what we do. We're podcasters. Yep. And now it's like people just screw around, and we had, you were throwing more and more kind of basketball games, and, last time we did the kayaks and things like that. And it really does open that world up and make you ask the question, why do we stress so much about stupid shit?
And why aren't we trying to have more fun? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that was the other thing Watt said, and in fact, so I don't forget it, but he said, because he called modern day sort of a world of leisure, because we have so many things at our disposal, and we don't have to work as hard anymore. And he said, I forgot the end of the quote, but it was sort of like, in a world of leisure, it is absolutely your responsibility to have as much fun as you can.
Yeah. And it's the opposite of the way people think now, right? It's like, oh, you can't have too much fun, right? Because you need to be serious. If you want to see results, and you want to, progress faster, and you want to accomplish these things, it's not about fun. It's about getting the work done. And while getting the work done is important, and we're all about consistency, and not taking, not having the obligatory Monday day off, we're also about having a hell of a lot of fun. Right. And that's why, like, and you said it, like in the first few camps we did, camp is pretty uptight. I'll call myself uptight. I was like, we got to make it very strict. We got to make sure we're covering these kind of bases. People come here for this.
Then after about PowerPoints,
a lot of PowerPoints back then, it's like, and then I realized, no one really gives a shit. The people got PowerPoints and all these things, like in real life. They don't come here for real life. They come to escape real life. They come to be themselves and not have to worry about it. And people come to our camps to be free. To be free of all these other expectations, and they come to have fun, right? We had, almost 30 people doing these capture the flag. And listen, first of all, if you want to figure out what sport you should be in, come to one of our camps, play basketball, capture the flag, and remind yourself why you don't play sports that require agility. Because it was as outstanding and as accomplished as a lot of our athletes are, it was very obvious when we played capture the flag basketball that we are north-south athletes. There's very little vertical, there was very little agility, and some people straight struggled. But it was an absolute blast, and I think there's this derobing, if you will, of people when you choose to do something that's fun, because it lets you kind of have this like childlike enthusiasm and fun about you to like goof off, and you're still taking it, because listen, everybody's taking it seriously. Like Trisha Dilday, I mean, she was savage, geez. Right? She's this very, very petite, athletics, great athlete. And you look at her and she'll wink at you, and you're like, oh, she's just the salt of the earth. Like, what a great woman. And then you're playing these games and she's not on your team. You're dead to her. I mean, she will straight trachea, karate chop you, and you're done. Right. And there was no, she was just savage. Okay. She was straight savage. I love you, Trish, and I'm glad you're on my team, because I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Probably why you guys won everything.
Exactly. But she was a great competitor, but still to be able to like laugh, because listen, from the time we wake up, from the time we go to bed, we have expectations, we have responsibilities, we have these things we have to do. And the daunting nature of the amount of those, it's like the avalanche of feeling and emotion and stress. I think we crumble right under it sometimes, and we tend to like, we don't have time for fun. Like, I don't have time to smile. I got to do this and I got to do that. And we end up and I'm also terrible at this, even though it's like one of the most frequent pieces of advice I give to our athletes is like, listen, take time for yourself. You can't take care of all these other people you're trying to take care of unless you take care of yourself, or you're going to burn yourself down to the ground. And it is one of those, and that's like one of the things I was reminded of first, like just scrolling through Training Peaks comments and listening to people kind of vent and talk through like how absolutely impossible, life feels, for some of them and things are going through, is that, life is hard enough, right? I know we say this a lot, and life is hard enough. And I think everywhere you look, there's this expectation everything is, I think, marketed as an expectation to either lose weight or to be stronger or to get faster, to be able to go long. It's like everything is numberfied, and everyone wants to be onto a sign like a number is like, well, how many miles did you gain at camp? Like, how much was your elevation? While some of those things I think are neat to look at, if you had fun and you learned something about yourself like that. So the last night of camp, we said, all right, who before we ended it, we were having dinner, and I said, all right, raise your hand if you found something inside yourself you didn't know you had, earlier in the day. I think almost everybody raised their hand, right? It was myself included. It was, I was able to dig deeper than I've dug in a long time. And you even called me out and you were like, I haven't seen your face like that in a long time. Like I dug deep. I dug deep. And I haven't dug that deep in a while. And I don't dig deep. I don't dig deep often for a reason, but, it was one of those kind of, I think the environment we put ourselves in, and this is something I think we can do a better job, even just like, if you're self-coach, you're training alone or you're on a team, whatever, is like to have fun with it, right? Because adding, like you said, like, we add stress to our life and we remove more fun, right? We add responsibilities and we remove things that kind of like, that we have the opportunity to kind of just express ourselves, right? And figure things out. And triathlon, honestly, unfortunately, I think is going so much in that direction with how obsessive the numbers and the data and the measurement of each and everything we do now has become so marketed with training apps and comparison and Strava even does this. It's like, I'm going to do this because I want to give them like what happened is kind of like disappearing in the woods and not telling anybody about what's going on and, what you're doing. And it's just one of those things where you can't replace it. Like, I know you did most of your run alone, solo. I did all of mine alone, no music, no nothing, just me and my mind and time and working through feelings and thoughts. And I think that's why I went longer than I didn't, people ask, how are you going to go 3 loops? Or are you going to go 4? And I was like, I don't really know yet what I'm going to do. I don't know if I want to just kind of get it over with and be done, and maybe kind of go faster and finish with 3 and just be finished. Or do I kind of want to just be out there in the moment and see how I'm feeling? And because I think one of the important things that we can figure out as athletes is, what do we need? Right? Do I need to go fast and go that next level of pain, but get it over with quicker, right? And be on course a little bit, less time, or have a training session that's shorter? What do I need? Or do I need to just kind of push the needle a little bit further than I have before? That's in a careful way, but just also giving myself more time to be in a moment where I got my phone wasn't even with me. No phone, no music, no run buddy. I mean, obviously we saw people in the course. It was just, I don't even know how long. It felt like 4 hours of time go by. How often do we get to do that, right? It's like, detach and push ourselves and learn things. And it was what I needed. And I know you read this a lot with the athletes you work with, and I do too. But sometimes when people kind of go rogue and they're like, I just needed this today. And I think that's a skill, is knowing what you need and how to get it. And not having to color in the lines every 2 seconds because it has to be perfect, because that's a measurement of success. That's when you start taking away fun, right? It's like, I can't go on the group ride with you guys and chit chat and have a good time because it's a little bit too slow for me. Or, I think this group run is going to be a little too fast for me. It might be low zone 3 and it's supposed to do zone 2. So you know what? I'll run by myself instead of with my 15 buddies and talk about life. Hello, you're missing the point, right? Have fun and figure things out like that. But no, I think every run camp we learned something. And I think this was the most enlightening camp for me in terms of how different people perform when they're able to remove stress and chaos in life and basically just ignore it, right? Ignore it, pretend like it doesn't exist. And then you come back to it. And that's why it's and I think that's why people have like that Ironman depression, right? Mm-hmm. They they just basically put on blinders to life and these other challenges they have, and it's all Ironman all the time. And then as soon as they cross the finish line and there's nothing left, they have to kind of open their eyes and they're like, shit, it's all still here, right? It's like, you pretend like, it's like putting, your mom asks you to clean your room and you're like, just put everything under the bed, right? And then it's still there. The mess is still there. And I think that's the hardest thing when you come back from your big race of the year and you're taking time off and there's no race in the calendar. You come back from a camp or a vacation, whatever, is that the mess is still there. And then how do we go about managing the mess while still allowing ourselves, the mess of life, while still allowing and managing ourselves to still have fun and get better and enjoy what we're doing?
Yeah. For me, man, I was going into that half marathon day. I was on the verge of like a little hamstring problem and a IT band issue acting up the couple days before that. And so my goal, what I needed that day was just I wanted to get through it without dealing with some stupid injury or pain or something like that. So I trained, and like I was talking about, train to heal and train within yourself, but there's always that damn bar, right? It's like last time we did this and we had to switch the course this time, and it ended up being harder than the last one. But I still had my mind like my average pace from last time or whatever. And at some point I just let that go. And you're right. I was on my own, and cause I felt like I really needed that. I needed to just be moving. And I, had this idea that, every loop I will walk less of a hill. That's kind of how I approached it last time, but I actually felt better. This time I hadn't been running a lot, and I was just kind of trying to get through it. But I used that whole experience in my mind to kind of settle my mind and be okay with whatever, because it's not like anything important. But when I started to get in that mindset and I was doing that hiking up some of those hills, and by the way, when a course is tough, when the running parts are easier than the rest of it.
No
you know
kidding,
what I mean?
Dude.
So it's like some of those are really pinchers, but like just to sort of be in my breath and kind of be comfortable with knowing the idea that I was doing something good for myself. And 99.9% of the world wasn't doing anything like that today. And here we are just out in the middle of nowhere, just doing these things. And you knew, even though it was hurting and it was going to hurt afterwards, that it was a good thing to do because it just felt right, even though there was pain and struggle. And when you can find that sort of like level of stuff, and it did turn more fun on that, and like you're saying about how competitive that basketball game got. And I realized that, even the dumbest games, like we were playing board games, and I kind of had this like tension in me about winning, and like it was going to be written down and posted all over the internet, and it was going to go against my social credit score and everything else. Like I can't win at the game Shadow or whatever that thing was called we were playing.
Is that what it's called?
I don't think so.
You guys were intense.
It was a fun game, but I kind of got to the point where it's like, it's a game. So then I started doing risky things in the game, right? It was sort of like doing dumb, but memorable, kind of like trying to go above and beyond and have fun with it rather than being so calculated and to win this thing. Like, so what? Like kept playing over and over and over, and it wasn't like we were keeping score of that. And then same with the basketball. Like you get into this thing where you really want to be the winners of that capture the flag thing. And like anything that throws you off of that immediately gets you uptight or something. And I just wanted to let go of that. Like, I don't give a, like, it was fun to go out there and just screw around. When our ball got kicked away, I'm not going to say who did it.
Trisha.
Went over the hill. I had to chase it down, and I'm running down there, and the grass was slippery, and I totally bit it and flew down the hill. And it was actually fun. But at first I remember thinking, damn it, we're losing time and we're not going to win. But the whole experience of flying down a wet grass hill with the danger of rocks looming was kind of exciting. And it was actually one of the more memorable times of the weekend for me.
It was memorable for me. I was like, where'd he go?
Where'd he go? But yeah, I mean, it was just, man, it's just like, how do we calm down about this shit, and feel good? Because the more tension and pressure you put on yourself all the time in training, I think it's a bigger factor in fatigue.
Well, I think a huge piece of it, and I think this is a large piece of how we're all wired, and honestly, probably something that's not discussed enough with coaches and athletes, is that a lot of us have this, inherent feeling about ourselves and what we should accomplish and also what we're not capable of. Right. And no offense to all the parents out there, but we can all blame our parents for a lot of this, or bad coaches when we were younger. It's like we have this inherent, like I said, like just gut feeling or this belief about ourselves of what we can and what we can't do, or what we should and what we shouldn't do. And what that does, it prevents us from having these kind of freeing moments of doing things. And I think this is one of the things and we've talked about this, and this is one of the very first conversations I had with you when I started coaching with you a long time, 8 years ago, is you answering a lot of questions. And I said, we only got to do it once. Right. And that's it. Just one time. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like when you train responsibly, right. And you said, some people you're kind of undertrained to do this, but really not. Right. Because when you're consistent and you train a lot, you can hang out within striking distance, do something and not injure yourself, right? It's not being irresponsible. If you're irresponsible every weekend, then you're being irresponsible. Yeah. If, with your workouts and you're always trying to crush yourself, well, then you won't be able to dig deep because you're also going to know how bad it sucks, right? That's what I was saying. Like, I only dig deep like once every blue moon because I know how shitty it feels when you dig deep. You're broke. Like I was broken after that fourth loop. I felt destroyed. But that's also,
it was like you could see brittle in your eye sockets.
Thank you.
But I mean,
no, I was hurting
that up because it wasn't like you were tired, but I could see that.
I was hurting.
Post-Texas feeling.
Yes.
That kind of like.
I put myself way in the Hurt Locker, and I was, and I went for it. And I have no regrets. And I'm also like walking, my calves are a little bit sore and my feet are a little bit tender. Other than that, like, I feel fine, right? For my, it being basically double my longest run with 3,500 feet of elevation over like 18 miles on trails. But it's also because we're responsible the rest of the time, right? If you're irresponsible all the time, you're just blatantly irresponsible. But what allows you to do these things just one time is because you have a great general level of fitness. But that's what also allows, me as like a coach to tell, a few athletes that were kind of hedging on what they were going to do. I was like, dude, who gives a fuck? Just go for it. Like figure something out. Like, please break the seal. Please break the seal of this careful nature that I think we kind of get sucked into. Again, it's not about being irresponsible. It's about holding ourselves back because that's also tension, right? They're like, I haven't run that long in 20 years. Well, whose fault is that? Right? Like, It's not that you can't, it's that you've obviously chosen not to. It's not that you're not fit enough. It's that you just keep telling yourself you can't or you shouldn't. And we always end up becoming what we tell ourselves, right? And you are the main character and also the author of your story. And you can write yourself whatever story you want to have, and that's what it becomes. And so there were a few athletes I had to say, like, listen, you need to be, you need to break that psyche and that mold of, I can't do this and I can't do that, and bust through it. Because once you kind of walk through that door and you're like, oh, you know what? Okay, that really wasn't that. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Well, shit, what else am I capable of? Like, then you kind of open, then you stop like, ramming your head against this dead end of what's possible with your training and in life. It's like, oh, a whole nother door opened up, which is also kind of scary, right? For people. And I think that's why a lot of athletes don't do things. They're like, so I can't, wait a minute, I can do this, but it was a lot more fun telling myself I can't. Right. And I honestly believe some athletes find comfort in the amount of things they tell themselves they can't or shouldn't do, because it keeps the pressure down, right? It keeps a low level kind of, well, I can't or I shouldn't. And so it prevents me from setting a bar or pushing myself harder or, forcing myself to go longer and figuring things out because I've already told myself I can't. And so there's safety in that. There's safety in being too careful or making excuses for yourself or convincing yourself you shouldn't or do this. And it's become very, very common for people to have that kind of like base level, I can't or I shouldn't. And then there's some athletes you have to be that have that, and you think, okay, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. It's time to get out the door and go do something you've never done before. And then when you see them do it and they're able to do it with like maybe not relative ease, but with a pretty solid, ability to do it, and they're not shelled when they're done, you're like, see, like I told you so. And to see like it's like you can watch someone physically figure something else out about themselves with their facial expression. When they finish doing something like that, they're like, they have this, like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, 'cause we had a lot of people, like when we did the course recon the day before, that were like, I really don't think I was prepared. I didn't have this in mind,
Yeah.
And that's kind of like one of the bad parts of like doing a preview, yeah, is you kind of know what you're getting into.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, God, and how bad it's going to hurt the next day, and you know what to expect. But there were also a lot of athletes that said, you know what? I'm ready for this. Like they did the whole thing and they're like, I think I can do well at this. And there's just this like, I think mental and emotional freedom we need to have to, because that's the key to unlocking things physically, is where you are mentally and emotionally. Mm-hmm. And the more stress and the more angst and the more, negative self-talk or disbelief in yourselves, that's what prevents you from becoming what you really can become physically. It very, very rarely has anything to do with your actual athletic ability. Most people are quote unquote unathletic because they call themselves unathletic. So they don't push themselves to do athletic things, or they're not a long distance athlete because, you just basically choose not to do long distance like racing, which is fine, but don't say you are or are not something unless you've actually giving yourself the freedom to figure out what you really are.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you say about, like, I always like to talk about being confident, even in the undertrained situation, because you got to do it once part. That's so important to me, because I think, especially if, people who have been doing this sport a long time and they have, good training blocks and a few months of really good training during the summer or whatever, and they got that race coming up. And it's like, I just feel like, at certain times of the year, I mean, when the off season comes, and a lot of people do work hard in the off season, but a lot of people don't. And I just feel like you get trapped in this triathlon cycle of thinking that you can get better, the last few weeks or month before you race, or getting, like really make great gains then. And I just think it's not, personally, I think that you can dial a few things in and maybe understand a few things better mentally and get to the place of understanding of pacing better and things of that nature. But to think that you always have to go further and further and further and push and push and push, I just don't know. I mean, especially when you think about long course and triathlon, and how important it is to just be strong and mentally in a good place going into that race. And there's just like, I mean, I look back at it again, it's like, I swear, I think I believe that so hard because that year I did chat full with a 3.5 hour trainer ride as my long ride. Mm-hmm. And I had my best bike. So, at 50 some years old. So how do you reconcile that? But I had been doing a lot of hard 2.5 hours, 3 hour rides on the trainer, cumulative effort, cumulative build. And then you just, that day you told me one day, I think I took that really literally.
You took it very seriously.
It's like, oh, you're right, man. Well, then I don't have to do this today.
Coach said I got one day. Okay, you guys are like,
if I can do this today, then I can do it that
practice?
Day. Yeah.
Practice. We're talking about practice?
But, I think it's important because for me, and plus I was sick that day. I got sick like the night before, 2 nights before, and I had like a cold or something. I just didn't feel good, and that was my best time. So it's like, what does that mean? Okay, it means that, that day is our day. If you're ready for it mentally, if you're like in the game, you just don't know what can happen. And just because you don't think you trained as perfectly as you can doesn't mean you can't have a good race.
We've talked about this on a ton of podcasts, and you just said about, you just gotta do it once. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's like, I don't think that we're not minimalist by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to, long course training and racing. But I am of the mindset of, I'd rather you be really, really, really fast and us not train, quite as much distance, and save that time. And you come into race day mentally and emotionally fresh and crisp and chomping at the bit and physically ready to go. What you don't want is an athlete that is burnt down, broken, exhausted, and has gone to the well every weekend, right? The last 6 weeks, right? They did their 7-hour bike ride and 2-hour, brick run, and they did their race simulation, like they're in Top Gun, and they did all these things. And and basically broke themselves weekend after weekend after weekend doing these, specific number of centuries you're apparently required to do for an Ironman. And they got 20-mile plus runs they've got to do, and a couple open half marathons, and 2.4 straight miles, miles straight swim in the pool. And then you ask them to go to the well on race day, you know what they say? I've been to the well too many times. No, thank you.
Yeah,
right? Like I don't want to go. Because here's the problem. You know what's in the well. So do you want to go to the well? No, you don't. Because you know what it feels like. Like once it's over, it's the best. But you can only go there so many times. Like we talk about burning matches a lot. Like you've probably only got 1 or 2 matches to burn each year physically at a race. So that's why it's important to know what 2 races you have, or you really want to go after and burn that match. But it's not just a physical match. It is a mental and emotional match to burn. And especially when you don't strike it a lot, or you don't go to the well, you want to go to the well when there's a lot of water, and you want to go to it and you want to bring it all back. You don't want to go to the well on race day, but you've been the last 8 to 10 weeks, and you show up to the well and you got to dig deep at mile 5 of the run. And guess what? Your well is dry. You got nothing, and you got nothing left. You're done. And you don't want to know how hard it's going to be. You just know you got to do it one time. But if you're fit and you're fresh and you're fast, then you are much more capable of doing it than being a going to the well or burning the match repeat offender. Because you keep going to, it's like you see it so often. Like, and I see this as a coach. I've witnessed it, on the course as an athlete. I've seen it with athletes in previous training before we started working together, that so many athletes don't walk the back half of the marathon or the last 5 miles of a 70.3 because they're not in shape, right? Mm. It's because their match is brittle and broken from having tried to strike it so many times the 2 months prior. The point is to build up your match, right? Or to, fill up your well when you get to race day. It's not about burning the wick. It's not about lighting the match frequently. Have you ever tried to relight an already lit match? It ain't gonna happen, right? It's gonna break, right? Same things with the analogy of going to the well. You can only go so many times or it's gonna run dry. And that's not just a physical thing, but you watch people who broke themselves in training, preparing for the day they were trying to accomplish. It's 3 to 4 to 5 weeks in the making. You can also see people who have really, like you said, maybe undertrained or had no business, quote unquote, compared to, how people see training. Like, you don't have any business doing this. But if you're fresh enough so you know what it's like to go to the well. I know what it's like to go to the well. Like you said, I haven't gone that deep since Texas 70.3, like 4 years ago, when I had that face of like, I am totally empty. I have nothing. And that's when I can't hear people. Like, you were like, hey, did you hear what I said? When I passed you in the course, I was like, I had no idea. I was just trying to focus on one foot in front of the other. But if I had gone there 6 months ago, nah, memory isn't short when it comes to stuff like that. Memory is long. You're like, God, I'll do 2 loops today. I'm just going to check out, supervise and make sure everybody got, it's easy to check out when you know what the pain is going to be like. But if you have cause you go on the defensive, but when you have the offensive mindset, like, I got this. Like, like you said, I'm only going to do it one time, right? It's not about being underprepared. It's about being adequately prepared to do what's required on the day and to only do it one time. And that is a cumulative effort of the amount of time and fitness you put into being mentally, emotionally, and physically ready.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to point out too, that it depends on your temperament, right? Because certain people are comfortable with, 2.5, 3 hour runs. They've been doing it along, because for me, it's all about lifestyle. It's about your stress level. It's about your history. It's all this stuff, right? And if for whatever reason, a 13-mile run is no big deal for you, and you're strong and that's kind of not your, digging in the well spot, that's fine, I guess. But certain people like me who don't do that very often and kind of flirt with empty wells a lot, kind of get to that point where it's like, I gotta prove that I can go a certain distance or this far today, rather than, really building your training up in an appropriate manner, I guess is a way to look at it. Because like, what good is it going to do you to ride 500-mile rides 5 straight weekends if it really beats you up? And like by the second or third one, you're like, well, I got 3 more of these to do. What's the point then? It's like, I would much rather go out and ride 70 miles with some good hills and some really good stuff that's not going to like shell me for the next 3 or 4 days, and just get out, really make a good workout. And like you said, you sort of got to leave a little on the table. You can't go out and do a Ironman practice day. I mean, the whole thing, that'd be dumb. We do it occasionally over 3 days, the distance or close to it, or at least times in the ballpark of that, which is fine. But like, I think certain people are better at going longer, and certain people like me, who just, the endurance distance doesn't feel that great to me. That's why I like that we do out at Run Camp, because it's hills. It's a lot of like strength work. It's hiking. It's more explosive in a lot of ways than just kind of keeping a pace for like, 2.5 hours, which absolutely drives me bonkers. That's just how I am. And I think it's self-defeating almost to do those sorts of things when I know that particular day of the race, I'm gonna end up doing it. And I know I can do it. It's like I've talked about. It's just sort of having belief in yourself, or confidence that you can find something in yourself. And then again, it's like we talk mainly to the majority, I think, of the triathletes. Rather, we're not talking to guys and girls that are podium, consistent. I think that a lot of time, I would say that I'm sure that they're just a lot more consistent with a lot more volume and things like that. But you can get to that point, obviously, but to force yourself there isn't going to happen. And like, what was it for Daniel who said that you'd rather have a little uncertainty about the day than confidence with it, or like total belief that you can go the distance because you've... Yeah,
Sebastian Kienle said before he won Kona after he's coming off an injury, he said, if you're confident you can do the distance, then you've trained too much. Then you're overtrained, right? If you're not worried you can cover at a certain speed, then you're not, and then you're probably overtrained.
Yeah, at a certain speed is the key.
Yeah, you're overtrained, and that's like, I think like what you said about what the amount of time I do best with is something we've discussed a lot, and I kind of know about me is I think everyone knows their most comfortable level of pain, right? That they're the best at, because with each level of pain, right, is also like they're on the other side of the coin is the amount of time you can withstand said pain, right? Some people find themselves being a lot better at the 5K pain, right? They can go all out and they can blister it, and they can go to the well, break the well, sledgehammer, find more water underneath, and just go for it. And it's excruciating. They can barely breathe. Everything in your body hurts. You're gasping for air, but it's over in 17 to 20 minutes, right? Some people gravitate towards that kind of pain. They do well at higher pain, shorter amount of time, right? Because you can't have that high level of pain. You can't have it for 4 hours, right? Some people have, and this is me, I don't like going there. I don't know if it's like the self-governing part of my mind that's like, no, that seems too risky. That hurts way too much. I like that, like what we did Sunday. I always gravitate towards, all right, I can handle this level of, uncomfortable type of pain, but I can handle for a while, and I can probably handle longer than you can, right? And to me, that equates to a certain amount of speed. Like, so I think everyone and I think it's important to know your strengths in terms of like, what kind of pain threshold are you most comfortable with? Like, most people, get uncomfortable, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Well, no, you just need to know what level of pain you like the most, right? Some people like it for 5 hours. Some people like it for 3. Some people like it for 30 minutes, right? Some people like it for 3 minutes, right? It's important to know that about yourself, because that can dictate what you're best at, right? Are you better at going long, Or even, but then also with triathlon, you have to think, all right, well, I might like it on the run, but this is you. I just don't like being on my bike that long, right? So you have a different, like we have a different pain and comfort scale, because on the bike, I'm opposite of the run. On running, I'm like, give me 90% grind, strength, like trails. Give me that for 3 to 4 hours. I'm good. On the bike, I'm like, nah, give me like 30 seconds, 1 minute, like just absolutely going after it with a little bit of rest. That's where I'm a wheelhouse on the bike. Swimming is also, I can go long. I'm not a huge fan of like burning out 50s. So I think it's important to kind of know that, because it is the pain level scale has the same time of, a time scale that goes with it, and in certain duration you can handle. And yes, it can be, you can work on those. You can try to discover, what you're best at. And the truth is, your body might be like, dude, I'm not that good at what you think I'm good at, but it doesn't matter if your mind won't take you there. Right. So I think, I'm just not good, which, in my opinion, as a coach, I want to know what athletes love to do and what they feel confident in doing. And because that's what they're going to do. And you got to work with that. Even though you think they might be better at a certain type of course or a certain type of workout, and that's where their strength really lies. If their mind is saying, you're not that good at that, and they're not going to go as deep, you might give them a workout that's, 100% of this. If they're not willing to go 100% of it, they're only willing to go 70 or 75 because they don't like going there. It's not going to get near as much of a bang for the buck if I tell them, all right, go 85, 90%, and they go 85, 90%, because you're going to get more bang for your buck going for that than hedging your bet on, well, I aimed really, really low. The point wasn't to aim low. The point was to aim high. And so I think every athlete knows what they kind of are. And again, you might be better at something than not. You might be better at short course than you really truly think. Like your body just might be wired better for fast twitch, going for it, VO2 stuff. But if you like the grind, then you're always going to be better, I think, at what you like better, not at what your body tells you you're better at.
I really like this topic. I think it's important. And when you're saying that, I know that I'm a high intensity cyclist, shorter time. I just cringe when we get out there for those 6 hour rides, like that type of stuff. I don't think I'm patient enough for one thing. I think it's a big deal with me is my patience level on going out to train for 6 hours. I don't know, there's a disconnect, and that's why I don't mind like running hour and a half, 2 hours, because I know it's 2 hours. It's not 6.
Yeah.
And then we'd go out to the trace, and, you'd have to get ready and drive out there. It'd become like a 10-hour day. And there was just something about that in my core of being that just rubbed me the wrong way or something like that. Like I said, I would rather just go trash hills for like 3 hours or something like that and just be done with it. And, does that translate? I don't know. But like, I do know that when I get into an Ironman race and I haven't really kind of flirted with the distance a lot, I know that I'm going to have to deal with things like butt pain and arm soreness and things like that. But like mentally, I know I got that one day in me. That was just like chat this year. I didn't really go balls out on the bike, and I didn't go anywhere near as hard as I used to train out at the airport or at the trace or any of that sort of stuff. I was doing hit rides in here sometimes. It's just to blow it up. But, I did okay, but a lot of that bike was just finding your pocket and just being okay with sucking it up for 6 hours or whatever. And then the run just, of course, demoralized me. But that was back to I was just tired, man. I was tired mentally and physically that day.
I think it's also important, and you said it, like to know what you're resistant to, right? And that's like, that's the job of a coach too, is like, what are they really resistant to? And while you might be better off aerobically prepping for a 70.3 in Ironman, doing longer rides and runs, it's undeniable, doing longer rides and runs, if you keep giving yourself them, and then, because what you aren't going to do is do 5, I got a 5 hour, I'm just going to make it through. You're going to stop either like 2.5 or 3 because you're so dejected, or you're not even going to do it at all. Right. The job of coach isn't to necessarily make you do things you don't want to do. The job of the coach is to find what you're willing to do and maneuver that as best we can to get you the best result out of what you're willing to do within the time constraints you do have, right? There is no, magic plan for every person. everyone's willing to do, go to the well in different places and different things. Some people love the 5 to 6 to 7 hour grind. They love it. They crave it. And
glad.
Yeah. And then there's other athletes like you who just despise it. Like, no, I'm gonna do it. So it's your job to figure out, okay, well, they can't hate this, because if they hate it, they're not going to do any of it. Right. The point of it is to get you, if you can, as long as you can do, like, if I'm coaching you, I'm saying, hey, I'd rather you get in 100% of what I'm willing to give you, what you're willing to do, versus giving you this amount and you only be doing 60%, right? Because you just don't want to do it. You have a disdain for doing longer things. So you're like, oh, you want to, and you have athletes that come, it's like, hey, listen, I hate riding my bike for 6 hours. Like 4 hours is my max for training for an Ironman. What you got for me? And you're like, all right, well, that's fine. We can make that work. It's going to be uncomfortable for 4 hours, but we make it work, right? Because it's not my journey. It's not what's you're not trying to appease me. It's my job to, work. I work for, we work for them, and our job to figure out how to make it work in your, because listen, some people have 6 hours, some people have 16, some people have 24 in a week. Everyone's different. Everyone likes different things. Everyone's better at certain things and worse at others. That's why the puzzle piece is so fascinating and fun to kind of like dive into when you train, is that it's always different. And I think that's a very, very important thing for everybody to know, is that it's always different and that you're different, and what someone else loves and likes. It's like you go to a restaurant and you're like, what do you want to eat? I'm like, let so-and-so order for me. We'll have whatever they're having. Like, what if they want freaking liver and meatloaf? And you're like, I'd prefer to have a ribeye. Like, go with what you like. Okay? Order from the menu that you want to order from, not from, because Joe Blow, you look at the table and you're like, oh, that looks outstanding. I'll have what they're having. And then you get it and you're like, that tastes like shit. It's like, it's not even close to like what you wanted. Go with what you want and what, it's best for you, not what everybody else wants.
Yeah. And do that in life too.
Yeah. No kidding.
Do what you want and, enjoy. I just, back to the beginning, just kind of like let go of things and be free with your day to day and let that carry over into training. It's not, every workout's not the end of the world, and every win or lose, it's sort of like, just keep moving the right direction and figure out ways to enjoy it. I mean, whatever that means today. That could mean I need to think through this shit that I'm going through in life. And so I'm going to take it easy and let my blood flow through it while I'm working out. And maybe I'll come to a solution rather than, take yourself like, just, I think a lot of times we punish ourselves with that kind of thought process. It's like, we got shit going on. Today I'm just going to go smash it and forget about it and not think about the proper way to sort of treat yourself as a human or something like that. And, I don't know, just a quick thought on like, if you're really more of a shorter biker like me or that kind of workout, one of the things I think I have to remember is that I need to adjust during the race, after that case, it's like, I can't push the same level if I'm not, at that aerobic level.
Yeah. Know who you are.
Yeah. Just, you got to have that patience to back it down. And I think those things snowball on top of each other.
All about snowballs.
It's all about, we didn't have enough snow.
No, we didn't have enough snow, but we know a lot of you did. You're having a lot of snow everywhere but Chattanooga. Hope you enjoyed the podcast today. We'll come back to you on Thursday. As always, it's a pleasure. We missed you. We appreciate you, our listeners. And if you want to, head over to iTunes. Give us a little bit of review and show us a little bit of love. It doesn't gain us any sponsors, but it's always helpful in gaining new listeners. And that's all about expanding our community and helping the sport of triathlon. You can always go to our website as well, C26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you're looking for a coach to help you out for this year, check out the coaches tab and peruse them and see who you feel like can help you reach your level of performance this year and capture all your goals in a fun way and keep things happy and healthy. If you have any questions for Mike specifically, he is at crushingiron@gmail.com. If you have any questions for me, I'm at C26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Enjoyed it, man.
I do. See you, buddy.
See you.